Redditors who were incarcerated for a long time. What was the biggest change in the outside world that blew you away? Jail and prison are slow. All routine only did 2.5 years, well close to 3 with jail time. But you just forget how fast the outside world is when you're locked in a cage. Reminds me of that line from Shawshank Redemption. The world moves so damn fast, or something like that. Dear fellas, I can't believe how fast things move on the outside. I saw an automobile once when I was a kid, but now they're everywhere. The world went and got itself in a big damn hurry. Brooks was here. So I haven't been incarcerated, but I've actually asked a few clients that question, and I can name a few. How cell phones are basically this overly complicated magical little device capable of almost anything. Social media, television shows and movies, the way they are filmed makes them seem cleaner and more lifelike. Since this got so many likes. Bonus 1. How poor everyone must be. Guy said he was making roughly the same money as he did when he went in 15-ish years prior, but felt like he couldn't afford anything. Bonus 2. Food options are different. I don't really know how to explain what he meant. Something about the super big franchises and hole in the walls not being the only options now. There's actual choice involved now. I remember a guy answered this same question a while back. He was in prison for like 30 years, and one of the first things he noticed was people everywhere wearing in-ear headphones. He had no idea that technology was so widespread and thought everybody looked like they were in the FBI. Literally just getting in a car and driving away without shackles and chains. You know you're free. You can do anything. You can eat what you want. Go where you want. That's a lot like giving up an addiction. Especially alcohol. When you're stuck in alcoholism, your choices to do anything are increasingly removed, and no matter what you do, you are constantly thinking about or planning about alcohol. All movement related to going out is limited and contingent on your level of inebriation. You can't drive after whatever time you start drinking. You cannot be relied upon to pick people up at airports or take them to appointments. You can't eat cause your stomach is a mess. Alcoholism and drug addictions are prisons, but the bars are made of different materials. Both keep you stuck where you don't want to be. As someone who just spent the majority of his life in prison, what happened with Legos? They used to be simple. Oh come on, I know you know what I'm talking about. Legos were simple. Something happened out here while I was inside. Harry Potter Legos. Star Wars Legos. Complicated kits. Tiny little blocks. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I just want to know what happened. Licensing money. I worked with a guy who was incarcerated for nearly 30 years, and he had a very difficult time adjusting to life outside prison. Computers were a big challenge for him, and he had a lot of trouble figuring things out and dealing with the fact that everybody told him to go to a website to do this and that, and he was very overwhelmed. Adjusting to society in general was hard. Somebody bumps into you on the street downtown, and it's an accident or no big deal. In prison, it demanded an immediate response. A physical response. Trying to change that instinct after so many years was difficult. He told me, whenever he entered a room after prison, the first thing he did was look around the room for something to use as a weapon in case he was attacked. Choice was a huge challenge. What kind of cereal do you want? Was stressful. So many choices in the grocery store, and he had no idea where to start. No choices in prison. Being in a grocery store or deciding on lunch was a huge source of anxiety for him. He spent a lot of time in isolation, with his mind racing, and building relationships and trust was challenging. Most of the people he had the longest relationships with were involved with drugs or still involved in illegal activities. He wanted to see friends, but at the same time, did not want to put himself in a situation that might put him back in prison. He was an interesting guy, very self-aware, and tried his best to readjust to life after prison. I just did 29 years in prison and nothing blew my mind. I was more concerned with what I was going to eat, where I was going to sleep, was I going to be homeless, to worry too much about the technology around me. I have often wondered what people in your situation do to survive if you don't have a family member to take you in. I hope it all works out for you. When I was 14, a few friends and I were sat in Burger King playing on our Nokia 3210s, showing off our self-composed ringtones and snake high scores. A pretty scary looking guy came in and wandered table to table, holding out his hand. Being dismissed by each group he approached, he got to us, held out his Sagem mobile phone and a post-it note with a phone number written on it. Poor bugger had never seen a mobile and had no idea how to use it. We typed the number in, pressed the dial key for him, he thanked us, and off he went. For some reason, that memory has always stuck with me. My brother is in prison now. He's been there since October 13, 2018. He has 5 more years. When I talk to him, he says he never feels safe, and it's always very loud. It's an assault on your senses constantly. He recently got in a fight and shattered his hand over the phones. He misses quiet. He always says he never realized how we can constantly communicate and be entertained. Not exactly on topic, just thought I'd share. Not just cell phones, but smartphones too. She had a flip phone that was always set really loud and on vibrate. She left it everywhere, wouldn't hear it or pay attention to it most of the time. Hated the idea of it. My old coworker did, I think, 18 years for second-degree murder. She killed her husband due to abuse and him trying to kill her. He was attempting to shoot her in their house. She ran straight through a glass storm door and out to his car, where another one of his guns was under his car seat. Shot him in the street. She has gnarly scars all the way up her arms from the glass door. Had an uncle locked up since before I was born. My dad put his calls on speakerphone and we were really interactive and close besides never seeing each other. Anyways, when he got out last year, we showed him Face ID on the iPhone. Absolutely mind-blowing to him. It was hilarious to watch. Smartphones and touchscreens really did me in. At first it was just unreal, and I didn't think they could be quality or work right. Then I spent time with my son, so I could learn how they worked and what they could do. Interesting and concerning at the same time. When you're locked up it seems that time stops, at least for you anyway. But when you experience release and truly comprehend all that went on without you, it's depressing to say the least. Never been in prison, but I wonder how the first Aussies felt. Fun fact, the state of Louisiana was also a prison colony for a number of years during the 7-Year War in Canada before Canadians had independence from Britain. French prisoners of war who were not executed were shipped off to the then French colony of Louisiana. My uncle went into prison in the 80s and got out in 2001. He knew about cell phones, but when we told him he could get a cell phone free for signing up on a contract, he lost his mind. He had imagined them costing thousands of dollars. All the top comments from this thread are by bots. They are taken from this post from a year ago. Some of the top comments then. Good friend did 15 years. Completely confused by motion activated sinks. I had a friend who did 20 years starting in the 90s. When he got out they put him up in a hotel the first night. He got a key card, but ended up standing in front of the room for an hour before someone came along and explained how to get in his room. I shared an apartment with a guy that was in Angola prison for 13 years from the age of 18. He'd never seen pasta salad before, but he could listen to Lil Wayne mixtapes and tell me who the guys were that Wayne was talking about. A bit longer than 5 years, but there weren't that many surprises. Access to television and newspapers and a couple movies a week plus all the new guys that would come in and out would give a pretty good idea what was up. Never had a cell phone until I came home, but I knew what they were and how to use them. Ditto for portable DVD players and iPads. I got handed an iPhone 3GS in the car on the way home after 17 years away and immediately was able to text my aunt. I think it is a bit different these days than say back in the 50s and 60s for convicts. It's not like we were living Escape from Alcatraz or anything. It certainly wasn't Oz. Closer to Orange is the new black just with fewer bitches. My cousin was arrested for 10 years, shocked by many things. Trump being president, iPhones without the headphone jack, Osama dying, but my favorite, when he heard about Pitbull speaking to the U.N about the water crisis. Strippers shaving their bushes and bleaching buttholes. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe.